but at that point they're considered an adult. We won't even get into all the different cases of people detransitioning.
Tastemakers.
Class. We do more than make a living, we make a life. When everything is dark, we are the light. We are the tastemakers. Aight. Let tomorrow tell the stories that we make tonight. We do more than make a living.
Some of us is hurting, so let's jump right into this real quick.
Affirm their children. They have since the dawn of time. Typically, it happens when their gender identity expression matches their biological gender. But what happens is when it doesn't, that's when the affirmation starts to wane. And that's what we're dealing with here. Although it's called the TGI Bill, they're not mentioned anywhere in the law. What's mentioned in the law is the child's gender identity and expression and the parent's affirmation of that, whatever it is, because that is our duty as parents to affirm our children.
Girl, go to hell.
Really gonna go to hell?
Affirm their children. Have since
Listen, Tasha, you be wild. We would like salvation to come to her, Tasha. We would.
Pray your prayer. Okay, I'll pray mine.
Wow.
Dang.
Tasha. So listen.
No,
California,
we're not slapping women upside their heads, Joseph.
So California doing California things, and apparently they have passed a bill. Ain't that the pot calling the kettle black though? Because you in Florida, where Florida be doing Florida things.
Oh,
But it,
but
on a
we
whole
will
other
not
level.
pass this.
No, y'all don't be passing these bills. Y'all be on the other side of it. You know how y'all do. So listen, California done passed a bill where if the parent does not affirm the child's desired identity, and they're talking male or female, but I don't even want to get into how crazy that could be. Then they could possibly take the child from the home. I'm gonna let our resident California talk first.
Do that.
All right. So I just pulled up this assembly bill because I want to be able to read it in its totality. Well, not its totality because that's a lot, but. All right. So Assembly Bill 957, Family Law Gender Identity, enrolled September 8th, 2023. So this literally just passed earlier this week or last week.
Last week, yeah.
Assembly Bill 957. Existing law governs the determination of and Tasha, I need you to hear this so you can break down all this legalese. Existing law governs the determination of child custody and visitation in contested proceedings and requires the court, for purposes of deciding custody, to determine the best interests of the child based on certain factors, including, among other things, the health, safety, and welfare of the child. This bill, for purposes of this provision, would include a parent's affirmation of the child's gender identity or gender expression as a part of the health, safety, and welfare of the child. This bill would incorporate additional changes to Section 3011 of the Family Code proposed by Senate Bill 599 to be operative only if this bill and Senate Bill 599 are enacted, and this bill is enacted last. So, from what I gather, and you help me understand if I'm right or wrong on this, Tasha, when dealing with custody battles, there are a number of things that they take into play and that they consider when determining who should get primary custody of the child. Now, to be added to that list on top of just regular welfare and everything else is the idea of if your child is expressing a particular gender identity, do you affirm that? And if not, then chances are you will be the least likely parent to actually maintain primary custody of the child. Am I right in that?
That's what it sounds like to me. That's going to be a count against you in the weighing of the two sides.
So you guys saying this is mainly pertaining to situations where custody is at hand, or are
Well,
we
it
just
sounds
saying
like
in general? It's in
sounds
general,
like
but
it's
also it plays a part when custody is at hand heavily as well. Is that right? Is that what I'm understanding?
yeah, it sounds like it's modifying more than one statute.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
the thing is, the determination of a child's best interest applies in different types of proceedings. So you can have it where it's a custody battle between two private individuals, or if custody is being determined in maybe like a foster care case, you know. So it seems like across the board, wherever best interest is going to be determined by the court, this is now going to be a part of the consideration. Fire. Sorry.
Charles, anything else on that? Again, our resident California.
So, I mean, I think it's interesting to try to force upon parents. Yeah, well, let me backtrack. Um, Transgendered individuals are human beings as well. Their lives
Absolutely.
matter. They
Absolutely.
deserve the same dignity of every other human being.
Absolutely.
I believe that transgender um, expression, modifications, whatever the case would be, are lifelong designations. And if you would not allow a minor to operate a vehicle with lifelong, if you would not allow them to operate a vehicle prior to a certain age, you would not allow them to consume alcohol by a certain age. And I'm saying all this knowing that there are some other laws that also just passed for the protection of transgender rights and whatnot. One of
Hmm.
being that anyone who were to file for, a gender change or to legally file for gender change, I think it was just passed. Today is what, the 12th? Today's 13th, so just 2 days ago passed, saying that basically anyone under the age of 18, if there's ever a filing of that sort, it is to be kept confidential and sealed. If they're over 18, then that thing can be, revealed or whatever. But if they're
Hmm.
under the age of 18, it's to be held in secret. There's also another one that has been passed recently, and I believe it deals more so with the idea of if a child wishes to admit themselves into counseling or whatever the case is, any kind of therapy or anything without parental consent, there's something dealing with the consent piece as to whether or not that is going to be a requirement, and something along the lines of as long as if the child is 12 or older, as long as they seem to be um, functionally able to understand and comply with the statutes of whatever program they're being admitted to. Um, it's whether or not a parent would still need to consent to them being admitted for that kind of thing, or if they can just go into it on their own, talk to their counselor and decide this is what I want to do. Don't tell my parents. Like, there's all kinds of stuff going on with that. So
Mm.
collectively, my mindset is thinking I
John,
would not trust my child to make certain decisions by a certain age. Why would I then allow them to dictate all the actions of their life leading up to a particular point? They haven't even fully developed their brain, their body hasn't even begun to fully develop yet. So they have an understanding of who they are or not. They haven't gone through the chemical and hormonal changes that would also potentially change their personality, their outlook on life, whatever the case is. Um, I don't know that I believe I don't know that I believe it's right to force someone to affirm an identity that is not set, to affirm an identity that could potentially be just a moment of confusion, a phase, a fad, whatever the case is. If it's something they stick with through the point that they're 18 and they're like, no, this is who I am, this is who I've always been, this is who I'm going to be. At that point, they can make that decision for themselves. I still don't believe the brain is fully functioned. I mean, fully formed to be
not
able to
till
make
25.
that decision. But at that point, they're considered an adult. We won't even get into all the different cases of people detransitioning, but
We
it's.
can get into it
I mean, well, if
because that's
you
why
have,
I'm so livid about this.
yeah, if you would like to elaborate on that, please do, because I
No,
don't have
because
enough knowledge on that to be able to say. I know that it happens. I know that there's a move, like a swelling, globally from community of detransitioners, but I don't know enough about it to speak to it, factually or knowledgeably. I just know this. It's scary to think about the state that I live in. This is one of those things where you'd be like, you know what, I could leave this country today and know that somebody is not dictating how I deal with things in my home. The kid could just decide, you know what, I don't like you. I want to go live with mommy. So when they ask me, I'm gonna say that, yeah, mommy affirms me, daddy doesn't. Who's telling the difference? Like it's there's it's a lot.
This is a violation. I'm sorry, quote, you were about to say something?
No, no, no. It wasn't. It was
It's
frivolous.
a
What I was about to say.
violation of the sanctity of a parent's place in a child's life. And it leaves a child open to when you look at these stories of the deep transitioners, and the deep transitioners, they're not the only people that have transitioned that regret it. They're just the ones that have gone through the deep transition process. You see what I'm saying? It's not like the treatments or the procedures that they're using right now to help people transition to begin with. It's not like these things are time tested and like they're experimenting on people right now. They're experimenting on people right now. Someone in the comments said that this is likely to affect Black and brown families the most. And that's why I'm pissed. Right? Because I believe that to be true as well. I believe that to be true as well. And there's always going to be some type of way that we have to be the guinea pig for questionable things, to the extent that you are willing to violate the right to determine how you're going to bring up your child is a fundamental right in this country. And just like, let's just overstep that to put children, to put babies in the driver's seat. My skin is crawling. And it's not with respect to things like, oh, what are you going to eat or where are you going to play? You're putting a child in the driver's seat to fundamentally, let's just say, affect, to be nice, their entire life. Sexuality is fundamental, it's the profound. You don't get any deeper in identity. It's inextricable. Identity is sexuality. And you're giving the child the power to just, the Bible says, and I can barely form a sentence because I'm so mad, and I'm not even a parent, a natural parent. The Bible says that foolishness is bound up in the heart of a child. It is the parent's job not to only affirm children, but to train them up out of foolishness so that they are ready to be an adult, to guide them while their brains and bodies are growing, and to protect them from the foolishness that is in their heart. And now you're saying it's illegal to do so when it comes to the most important question of a person's identity. It's sick. And as someone who is, whether you're talking about whatever, sexuality, whatever, it's sick to remove a parent's right to protect their child for political purposes. I've been NPA from the beginning. I'm not a Democrat or a Republican or whatever, you know? And I got smoke for both sides. And I have things where I agree on both sides. This is the type of thing that pisses me off with liberals. Everybody's mad at conservatives right now for overturning Roe v. Wade. But remember how Roe v. Wade got passed, friend. Remember how it got passed. Okay? They found a straw man. They found a lady who didn't care about no abortion either way. They made up a plaintiff in order to get to the Supreme Court. You understand what I'm saying? Instead of going the appropriate route, or just how laws are usually made, it's okay, well, let's take a vote. What is the public policy? How does the public, this is a democracy. Let's, let's have a referendum. Let's put it on a ballot or something. No, we're going to create a fake plaintiff and get this to the Supreme Court so we can ram this crap down everyone's throat. And it backfired. It backfired decades later, but it backfired. And they're still doing it.
There's a pervasiveness of the mindset of do without will that seems to be like making its way into every aspect of American society.
And I
It's
don't
not
see
even
this as
America.
do what thou will. I don't. I
I
see
do.
this our will be done.
I see this as do without will. And when I say that, I'm saying that from the standpoint of trans rights and begin with the person deciding for themselves who they want to be, who they feel they've always been.
Mm-hmm.
So if this is what they feel they've always been or who they feel they want to be now, who are you to tell them they can't do that? Let them do what they will. Do without will.
As an adult, sure. Look,
No, I'm not. I'm not. No,
yeah.
I don't. We're not disagreeing on that. I'm
Yeah.
saying though that this is where all of it stems from. Like God is
Mm-hmm.
not the author of confusion. All of
Mm-hmm.
this is confusion.
Mm-hmm.
The way in which it's being dealt with is all confusion.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say it's do without will, it's
Mm-hmm.
hey, you, whoever you are, on an individual basis, do whatever you want to do. Who are we to stop you? Matter of fact, we're gonna
Mm-hmm.
affirm you in whatever it is that you want to do at whatever age. It's just getting younger and younger. Oh, you like to
Mm-hmm.
have sex in this way? Do what you're gonna do. Oh, you want to wear this? Do what you want to do. Oh, you want to modify yourself in this way? Do what you want to do. Go ahead, it's your world. Live how you're gonna live. We can't stop you. Who are we to check you? I'm not perfect. I'm not God. You're not God. Half of these people don't believe in God. And the ones that do believe in God believe that God got it wrong, so they're rebelling against God.
That, yeah. And
So
my thing, yeah.
why would I ascribe to and I'm not speaking for me. I'm
Yeah,
saying
yeah,
why would
yeah.
I ascribe to a thing that I think is false and wrong? I've been watching y'all for generations, for centuries, misquoting this Bible for the sake of doing things to people and justifying it. I'm going to do
Mm,
everything I can to fight against that. If that means that whatever you believe to be traditional identity, I don't want to do that. I'm going to go
mm-hmm.
against that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'm gonna do what I want. Do without will, literally.
yeah. And even if
I
they
was
don't have the
simply
personal urge, even if they don't feel that personally, that is the spirit behind it, even if they're not aware of it. You see what I'm saying? The Bible lets us know in Ephesians chapter 2, there's only two spirits that are leading people in this world. Feel me? And it's kill, steal, destroy versus life abundantly. So it's like anything that is good, anything that is love, anything that is life, the enemy's gonna attack it. And the
So,
people, mhm.
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Finish what you were
that
saying there.
I look at the people that struggle with it as like I feel for them. I feel for the people who are actually going through it, but they're being preyed on by the medical industry. They're being preyed on by established medicine because it's money to do these procedures and these therapies. It's money. Not to give them hormones, mind you. They could just as easily administer hormones to make them feel like more of what they were born. They can easily do that. But it's not covered. Insurance companies covered hormone therapy to change you from one to another, not to increase a woman's estrogen or whatever it is. I'm not gonna pretend I know medical stuff or increase a man's testosterone, whatever. That hormone therapy, as far as gender dysphoria or gender issues goes, it's covered when you want to switch over. Why not both? Because by the time you get to the place where you want to do that reassignment, that surgery, that's money, that's profits, and it's profits over people.
So, I pretty much concur with what both of you already said here. Mr. Legacy Jones, shout out to Mr. Legacy Jones in the chat. But he mentioned, he said, is this really about age? Meaning, are you cool with trans people doing this over the age of 18? Is what he said.
I
There,
want
I,
everybody to feel like what they were born, but it's not going to happen. And I don't have control over that.
Yeah, so I think one of the things, I'll speak for me, and apparently I'm putting too much sauce on whatever perspective I have, but
we'll
it's my
get to that
point.
comment after
But it's my point of
we
view. You
handle
feel
this.
how you want to feel about it. You can address it however you want to address it. I'm gonna speak for me. Um, so I got the mic. That's what it is. Um, I do believe that we're to be wise in how we deal with this world. I do believe that we're supposed to be able to navigate it in a way to be peaceable as much as possible. I also believe that it is not upon us to impose our beliefs, our theology, our ideology, everything else upon everybody else. It's up to us to abide by the things in which we believe. It's up to us to try to raise our children in that way. Raise up a child as they should go, and so that when they grow, they won't depart from it. That's what I try to do. That's my goal in my home. I cannot dictate what somebody else does in their home. I also, once somebody reaches the age of legal consent of their own, cannot force them to live a way that I believe to be, you know, either pro my thoughts or aligned with me or against. I can't force that either way because now they're at the age of being able to make that decision for themselves. Am I necessarily okay with it? That's neither here nor there because they're going to do whatever they want to do when they're legally able to do that.
Here's my thing. If something's going to destroy somebody, they should be warned.
Yeah, so a couple things, and I'll say my opinion here, and if Key feels like it, she can too as well. But so I do want John H. I want you to clarify what you were saying there. Well, actually, let me say what I think you're saying. Then I'm gonna go to Mr. Legacy's point. Then I'm gonna come back just to give you a chance to clarify one way or the other. So what I think you're saying, Mr. John H., is you said it before, too much sauce for a Christian point of view. It is what it is. No other religions dance around their beliefs. And so I just want to make sure I understand you as saying, as Christians, we're not being as just black or white or direct about this topic as we probably should be. Am I? I just want to make sure I'm quoting you right. Let me know if I'm quoting that right first and foremost. Then going back to as I wait for John H to respond to that, I'll go to Mr. Legacy's comment, which says that his back to his after 18. Listen. This is no different than no different to me right off than anybody that wants to live their life, right? Like I don't control people. It's just not what I do, right? I don't none of us control people per se, right? And so what somebody does when they grown is what they do when they grown. I could agree or not, right? Um Parents and children, that relationship is a little bit different though. You feel what I'm saying? Because there's a level of responsibility amongst many other things that come with bearing, raising children, training up children, yada yada in this life time or whatever the case may be. I mean, I listen. I mean, I was about to say it earlier. I know it's funny and it's all fun and games, but I mean, my daughter loves cats, and there was literally a segment of time in her life where she would go around meowing. You feel what I'm saying? Like, I'm not affirming her desire to want to be a cat. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? We're not doing that. And that's even on the real
Doja Cat was a
soft,
cow.
playful. Say again?
Doja Cat was a cow.
Doja Cat
Coming
is
up
a
a lot lately.
whole another situation all in her own self. Um so ultimately I just wanna, yeah, it's just crazy as far as what they're doing for to kids or doing to parents concerning kids. This is crazy. I can't believe California is going this route. Um,
I can.
I mean, we
Yeah,
can
well,
believe it.
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, yeah, yeah.
The
But then
the
I
same way
think,
we would look at situations and no problem saying the same way we would look at situations in Florida and be like, how could they come up with that?
yeah,
And then when you think about it, you be like, I understand exactly how they came up with that.
yeah,
And so that brings me to my other point, right? Because as much as I do um, believe and have read literature that tells me that the ultimate agenda, as far as in the earthly mind of people involved, is to normalize adult child sexual relations. That's a whole nother topic. My thing is the craziness on both sides, because we're in the political arena, right? We always are, they're always wanting to maximize on conflict. There's a spiritual element, of course. The enemy wants to undo whatever God has done, however he can. In the natural realm, um, and politically speaking, it's always about maximizing conflict because that's how you get people impassioned to donate to your campaign or donate to the campaigns of the people in your party, right? So both sides are there where one can easily win an election by just coming to the middle to grab some of the marbles from the other side and combine with their own base to win. They're both pandering to the fringes of their bases, to the extreme sides of their bases. Okay? Because that's what gets people hyped up and that's how the dollar's flowing. And for me, it's very frustrating because it keeps us from getting to, I think, the main issue we need to address as society, the issue that Dr. King said was the next great frontier, not Coretta Scott King, who I love, but before she died said the next great frontier was LGBT rights. Dr. King said it's economic civil rights. It's the rights and the state of the poor and
that's
how
why
we're going
he's
to deal with that.
dead.
That's why he's dead. And I just feel like as long as they keep the conversation in certain places, oh, race this, LGBT that, we never get to that. In my opinion, it's a huge smokescreen. I think them people know better. I think there's a lot of people advocating for this that don't truly believe in it. They do not truly believe in it themselves. A lot of them, in my opinion. I don't see it. I just it's political, it's tactic, it's fundraising, and it's deflection.
So follow the
Okay.
money.
So yeah, yeah, I think that money part definitely plays a heavy part of it. I don't know how much anybody is really looking out for the kids when they. I just it's just that's hard. I do want to just answer some of the questions definitely in the chat though, just to make sure that the brain is not fully developed. Indeed, the reason I ask is people feel away trying to. Okay, cool. So, Mr. Legacy Jones, wanted to make sure I answered some of the questions that you've got in here as
Yeah, no
well.
one's saying Dr. King ain't care about the LGBT community, bruh. Ain't nobody saying that. I'm just saying, um, that's not where he left off. You know what I'm
The
saying?
reason, so Mr. Legacy Jones says the reason I ask is some people feel away and try to hide behind the age thing. So when you say feel away, are you trying to ask whether or not we think that a transgender way is the way? Is that what you're trying to ask us? Ultimately, because yeah, I don't think I have any real issue saying that that's I don't believe that to be the way. I think that's an
I don't
easy
believe that
thing.
to be the way either.
Yeah, I
I
think
don't
that's a
believe that to
very
be the
easy
way.
thing to come out my mouth. Now, so but
Oh,
again, as I said earlier, ain't out here controlling nobody in their life. Do you feel what I'm saying? Nobody.
yeah, and
But
maybe
kids and parents, it's a different ball game altogether. You feel what I'm saying?
yeah.
And so, I want to make sure that's clear. Go ahead, and Charles, you were saying?
Sorry, I noticed some of the comments in regards to those kind of things were coming after I spoke, so maybe they're looking from my perspective on it. I'll say this personally: I do not believe that it's the appropriate way in which to live, and that's from my spiritual convictions. That's also from some experiential things that I've witnessed. Um, However, I am trying to be wise about understanding my neighbors. I'm trying to be wise about understanding the people with which I go to work with every single day. Sometimes people who may be signing a check of mine every single day, people with who I'm interacting with at grocery stores. I live here. It's probably more pervasive here than it is wherever you are or could potentially be. Um, or, I'm not one of those people where it's like, you know, oh, it's an abomination and I'm not gonna have it. I'm not gonna stand for whatever. I don't agree with it. There's a lot of things that people experience or deal with or express that I don't agree with. But that doesn't mean that I don't first understand and identify them as human, flawed, like me, meaning that, okay, whatever our differences are, we can put that aside and still be able to walk hand in hand and understand each other better. Like
And
that,
Mr. Legacy Jones, and I'm
that's
sorry
where
to
I
interrupt, Charles. You ain't new to the Tastemakers pod. You know we ain't out here just not loving on folk. Just
no, I know that, but I'm saying
no,
it,
no,
it
no, not you, Charles. I'm talking to
right, right,
Legacy in the chat.
right. Okay.
Legacy, you ain't new to the Tastemakers pod. You know we ain't out here just not loving on folk. You know that, right?
I mean, well,
Ain't
what are we
nobody.
defining as loving? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Well, and maybe he seems to think that affirming is loving. Maybe that's what it is. I'm
So
not
admit
sure.
you view that topic through that bias and perspective, fam. Who is this guy?
No, Mr. Legacy Jones ain't new to us. He ain't
No,
new
but
to
who
Mr.
stands is that? Because
Well,
low
it's
key,
Corey's man, but Legacy been here for a long time. Legacy been here to a long time.
that's
So
that's cool.
obviously,
That's cool. But like for real, and this is a side of me. I don't be like to get out or whatever like that. It's coming off mad disrespectful. It's coming off very, very, very much adversarial, and that's not what this is supposed to be about. So I'm gonna leave it at that.
yeah. So I don't. You know me. I love a difference of opinion. So I love it.
I don't mind a difference
Um,
of opinion, but I don't like getting buttons pressed. And he's
I
over here
got
trying
you.
to press the button. If
Gotcha.
you're going
Gotcha.
through the
Gotcha.
thread, he's pressing buttons. That's not
Nah.
that's not what I'm about.
No, I feel that. I feel that.
yeah, I see how he could feel that way.
Okay, and if Tasha, then that's a double on. Well, definitely confirmations there. Yeah. So Legacy, listen. At the end of the day, it's one thing to believe the way you believe. It's a whole another thing to treat people a certain way and not walk leveling with people through life. And you know this. This ain't nothing new. You've heard us talk about this kind of stuff before, I'm sure. So, with that being said, if you can do it quickly, I would love your quick point of view. We'll chat about that real quick, and then we'll go ahead and get up out of here. Um, let's see here. Because I don't know the other two. Okay. How
Yeah,
you
I
don't
mean,
know the
look,
other?
where
But go ahead.
people, Jesus said he created them male and female, Matthew 19, right? We believe the words of Christ. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No one here is deflecting that. I think sometimes people want to hear it said a certain way, and it's just like I'm not beholden to anyone to say it how you think I should say it. I'm speaking the truth, you know, and I'm saying this is what I believe. These are the words of Christ, and that's what I believe in. Feel me? That's enough. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think anyone is saying if someone is lost, in the sense that they haven't come to a saving knowledge of the truth, that we should not reach out to that person and attempt to share the truth with them. No one is saying that either. You know what I'm saying? I think people, and this is not to really get back at the person in the chat. I'm just using this word, but sometimes people look for all this sauce on it, and you have to deal with the situation according to the situation. You know, there are times Jesus shouted, there are times he taught, there are times he whispered, there are times he said nothing, and he had that wisdom on how to do that. You know, people need to understand that even though the truth that we adhere to expressed in the Bible during a certain time, we live in a different type of time and setting, and the Holy Spirit is going to lead us how to respond in our time, in our setting, using the same truth and the same principles. But we need to be led by Him, because that's what sons and daughters of God are. They're led by the Spirit. We do not live in a homogenous society. like the one in the Bible, where the questions of what is God, how do we worship Him, what is a marriage, what is the proper way to waste, all these fundamental questions are not answered the moment we're born and everybody else has the same answers. We live in a society where a bunch of people have all these different answers to these very fundamental questions. And so we're going to move different than people who are in a homogenous society as averse to a um as opposed to a melting pot like ours. So yes, there is a way for the truth to be passionately disseminated to people, but it's not going to look like necessarily what you read. You feel me? We're not in premillennial Israel, guys. Get off it. Get off.
So again, y'all know me. I love a good difference of opinions, and I love just to hear other opinions in general. So yeah, I see what you're saying, Mr. Legacy Jones, about creation, poetry, and whatnot. And I do know some people that do believe that way. I don't necessarily believe that way, just because I choose not to believe that way. But I know other people who are dear and near to me, Christians, Holy Spirit filled, that do believe that way. So I don't have necessarily a true issue with the narrative. With that being said, trying to make sure whatever the case may be. So Legacy Jones, and I'm just interested because this is who I am. I'm a table setter, right? I love a difference of opinions, and I get curious, right? So Legacy Jones, do you feel the same way uh, concerning just homosexuals in general, like homosexuals in general, that you would feel towards transgender, or is this a difference per se? Um, this is a different thing. Like, do you see this differently between the two? Being that the two are two different things, I'm saying, do you see them biblically differently? Mr. Legacy John, let me know that in the chat if you can. But yeah, John H. say, um, oh no, but John H. I'm the host. I don't, y'all know I don't get off of nothing, and I'm down for a good conversation. So I think this is a good conversation to have. I do understand that there might have been feelings one way or the other. I'm just not, y'all know me. I'm not that affected. I'd rather have the conversation. I think it's educational and it's good to hear different aspects of different things as we seek out to understand and to be curious and to love on people, no matter what facet of life they are. And so I love all of that. But yeah, so if you can quickly, Mr. Lexi Jones, if you could answer that question for me, and then we'll. Um, oh, okay, all right, appreciate that. But yeah, and then we can kind of go from there and go ahead and get out of here because it is late. Shouts out to Key, she had to run, guys. She was getting a little tired and whatnot. But it was a
I'm
good
actually
conversation.
working, so y'all could go. I'm
I got I got to be at work at about 7 or 8
I'm working
myself,
right
but
now.
you silly. But the key thing is, at the end of the day, it was a good conversation. The chat was engaged as well, and I can always see the numbers, right? So I'm looking at the numbers and seeing, how things are going one way or the other as well. So definitely a good conversation. Stuff I've learned, and this teaches me something about Mr. Legacy Jones that I did not know or understand. So I definitely am interested into his opinion here as well. He says, biblically different how? Jesus did not rebuke either. Most must understand pedophilia and a rebuke of the action of Tiberius Caesar, who abused children, are often imposed over recent use of homosexual. Okay. So, so to say that Jesus did not rebuke either, I could almost go with you concerning Jesus, but can you say the scriptures did not point either into a certain
Jesus be
area?
rebuking.
Is huh?
Jesus be rebuking.
No. We're talking about specifically in the terms of either transgender, homosexual.
Oh,
I don't believe. I think he's right in my brain. I don't believe that Jesus red letter said anything
right.
concerning both.
Well,
But
that
there are,
was
of
my
course, multiple scriptures that would say
yeah.
say differently.
That was the point of me bringing up the type of society he lived in at the time. A lot of this was understood already. You know what I'm saying? They had the 613 laws, one of which thou shalt not lie with another man the way you would lie with a woman. Jesus walked among people who already understood that our God does not co-sign certain sexual practices, if you will, right? And the only thing that Jesus had to say when he was a part of certain discussions, and again, Matthew 19, he's like, well, have y'all read your Bibles? From the beginning, it was said God created the male and female, and that's where he began his discussion on marriage and the law and whatever. And so he didn't have to expound on that back then because it was understood by everybody he was talking to. We don't live in a society where everybody is in agreement with that at birth. And we all just know. And everybody you see at the grocery store know. And everybody you go to church with and go to school with, everybody's in agreement on these questions. We live in a different type of setting. And so now, if you're in a certain discussion, you may have to expound where Jesus didn't have to. Right? Yeah. And you should do so, number one, again, spirit-led and prayed up. Right? And two, in a manner that is appropriate to the circumstance that you're in. Because
and in love.
Yeah, he who winneth the soul is wise. Right? And wise does not, listen, love is not always quiet. Sometimes love will make you shake a nigga. Right? But I just feel like because of how passionate we get about the subject, not everybody, but a lot of people want to jump to the shaking folk. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, you have to be spirit-led and you have to walk in wisdom. Wisdom is known by her children. So I'm saying, why not let's study the words, let's platform and study and learn from believers who are out there ministering to people who's going to this and seeing results and learn what they're doing. Because what we've been doing in these little raggedy churches has been actually promoting hatred. And we got to cut it out. So we don't talk a lot about the people that's ministering to this community. Let's get into it. Let's call them up. Let's study them. Let's see what they're doing and learn and go out there and be Jesus.
Amen. Okay.
Tastemakers.
Class. We do more than make a living, we make a life. When everything is dark, we are the light. We are the tastemakers. Aight. Let tomorrow tell the stories that we make tonight. We do more than make a living, we make